Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and as many of you know, update 3.1 for Gems of War is now live for console players. You guys will be getting it September 5th. In this video, I'm going to be going over essentially the entire changelog, my impressions on it, and just going over a few other things that kind of aren't really mentioned in here that were still added. So, first things off is the Soulforge. This is the crafting system that has been requested for a very long time. So, what this is, you unlock it by completing out a bonus quest line in Blighted Lands. So you have to finish the standard Blighted Lands quest line, and then there's a bonus one that you do after the fact, which will unlock the Soulforge. You can get there two ways, just by clicking on the kingdom and going Soulforge, or the easier way of just clicking on minigames and then clicking on Soulforge. Out of everything that you want to do that's new content related from this patch, this is the first one. The main reason for this is once you unlock it, it starts accumulating kills, and this is how you level the new crafting system. It can go up to level 10. Once you get it to level 10, it stays at level 10 forever. You can do this by two means, either by getting kills anywheres in the game, or by using your gems. These are gems. This is the new icon that they're going to be using for it. They only ended up doing this new format for these two pages. Eventually, the whole game will be in this different format. But yes, these are gems. Do keep that in mind. But anyways, yeah, you can either spend gems or get kills. I definitely highly advise getting kills. Do not bother spending gems on it. Most of the stuff that you can do with the later levels of the crafting system, you won't even be able to do initially because you won't have the new jewel resource to put towards it. So yeah, just let it level up naturally. Be patient. It only takes about a week of naturally playing to be able to max it out. You can do it in as little as 3 hours if you use one of the better teams. As you can see, you unlock new kind of like little things that you can craft every single time. The most noteworthy ones are actually level 9 and 10, which I currently do not have unlocked at this given time, mainly because this unlocks celestial trait stones, legendary troops, legendary weapons, diamonds, which are even more valuable than gems right now, mythic troops, and then mythic weapons, which is a completely new weapon type. There currently is no mythic weapons in the game until this patch was added. So, next tab, little jewels. These jewels are used for crafting within pretty much everything within the new crafting system. You can craft all 6 of the basic ones, as well as the diamonds, once you have unlocked, I believe, at level 9 it is. You can also craft trait stones. The most notable of 2 is that you'll be able to craft minor trait stones out of major trait stones and souls. And you'll also be able to craft things like runics, which are pretty good value, as well as arcanes, which aren't the best of value, but if you were really in a pinch to try to just get a few crafted up, it would definitely be a good idea to do so. So as far as troops, you get these new little thingies. You'll also be able to do different legends and mythics depending on what the week is. The legends and mythics that you're able to craft does change based on the week, but you always have these things that you can do every single week. Essentially what this is it's a gem key related to a single color in particular. So for example, this red one is a gem key that counts for only red troops. So you'll get the ultra rare or higher drop, but it will only be red. And of course, it applies the same thing on whatever colors. If it's a yellow one, then it'll give you a random yellow troop of ultra rare or higher. So essentially, gem chest, it's just color focused. This could be particularly good on Guild Wars, because if you needed, for example, better yellow troops for your Guild War day, well, you can just get a bunch of yellow summoning stones and then hopefully get some kind of good drop that you can put towards your yellow build team. As far as weapons, there are new unique weapons that are for every single color, as well as some legendary and mythic weapons that we'll be going over more in the future. For the most part, all of these basic single color ones, like the fire staff, fire sword, all these kind of things, they seem relatively useless, but the higher up ones definitely do seem quite usable. So to keep that in mind. And as far as this is basically irrelevant, I don't know if anything else comes here, but these jewels are extremely valuable, and you would never bother transforming them into souls. This is 100% useless. So over here, you can see all of your jewels. If you just click the little thing over here, this shows all the jewels that you currently have. The gigantic one is a jewel. That's a sapphire, emerald, ruby, topaz, amethyst, and I forget what the other one's called. A garnet is what the brown one is called, and those are just called shards. So we have all those, and this little button over here is just the little chat menu. You guys know what a chat is. So, on to the next part of the changelog. We have, of course, the other really important new feature, the dungeoning system. This can be done on a daily basis. It's a place where you basically go and fight little boss battles. This can be unlocked in Drifting Sands, so you definitely want to do this. Do Blighted Lands, then go do Drifting Sands in that order. So you can get the extra things for your Soulforge. But yeah, once you complete out the quest line for Drifting Sands, there will be a bonus quest line afterwards that you can do that will then unlock the dungeoning system, similar to the other thing. You can either get here by clicking on Drifting Sands and then on Dungeon, or go to Mini Games and then click on Dungeon via that way. You get 3 battles every single day to do here. You can do these battles as many times as you want until you end up winning. But once you win, you will not be able to play these anymore for the given day. You can also only claim the reward once every single time. They will give 3 different rewards every single day. A little shard or a little jewel based on the color of the day. There are 6 different color days, and the 7th day will be one that gives more jewels. The other one is shards. This is given out absolutely every single day. And the other one is a % chance of getting jewels. Not a huge fan of the % chance thing, but that is currently how it's set up. The main reason I don't really care for it too much is there's a set amount of times. Obviously, you can only do each one of these once per day. So that will leave some people within a guild having way more jewels seemingly than anyone else in the guild. It can happen where you just get like really unlucky or just really lucky. It could go in the other way around. But yeah, % chance every single day or every single battle that you will get one of these jewels. And they just have harder requirements on them. For example, this mana core gains a massive attack boost, which is basically what he was pre-nerf. Jotnar deals extra damage and creates more barriers. And over here with the Eternal Guard's avatar, he deals true damage instead of physical damage and gains more armor. There's also an offer over here that you can take. There's 2 of them. The gem bounty you pay 50 gems for, and after you completed the first battle of the dungeon, you can pay 50 gems, and this will give a bunch of resources. I highly advise doing this, particularly for the next few weeks to month, because these resources are going to be way more valuable than the 50 gems that you put into them. Maybe later on, once this format has been out for a while, this might not be as needed, but as of this current moment in time, it is definitely worth spending 50 gems every single day to buy the gem bounty. As far as the daily deal, this is just something small that you can throw down if you just want to get your next VIP level, or even just to accumulate some of the newer resources. It costs $5. You can buy this once per day. It does give VIP. There was a glitch earlier where it wasn't giving any VIP. If this did occur to you, make sure to contact support and they will give you your 25 VIP points. They ended up reimbursing me. Let me actually go double check and buy it myself right now. We're at 75. Let me actually go check real quick. We're at just to make sure that it is working, and so you guys know. But yeah, if it wasn't working for you earlier, definitely make sure to contact support. So we did get our 25 earlier. Let's see if it goes from 75 to 100, which is what it should do when we go and buy it. So just to double check. So we go to dungeoning, go to offer, go buy this real quick, and authorize, and we're good to go. We get all the resources, of course, and all this gets sent to us, and it does indeed give the VIP. Now we can even see it right there. Let's just double check one more time, and it does look like that they have indeed fixed it, so it does indeed give VIP now. But if you did buy it prior to about a couple hours prior to now, definitely contact support, and they'll give you your 25 VIP points that you should have earned. Anyways, as far as anything else with dungeoning, I think that's pretty much everything you need to know. And of course, all these resources then accumulate over in the Soulforge. The only place where you can actually see these resources, they're not currently within your collection. If you try going in your collection, they don't show up here. The only way you can see them is if you go under the Soulforge, and then you can see them, of course, as I mentioned here, over in this format, and you can see all the resources that we just bought, as well as all of the jewels that we have accumulated. So those were the main new features added to the game. I will be doing videos going over those in way more details. This is kind of an overview as what specifically has been added. So other thing, Russian language now has been added to all versions other than PC, and when console gets their patch on September 5th, you guys will be getting the new Urskaya Kingdom about 1 week after the patch goes live. Also keep in mind, anyone on PC Mobile, we're getting a new kingdom, I believe on September 15th, if they haven't changed it. Other than that, updated AI. This is quite notable. PC and Mobile now has console AI. The biggest thing to note about this is how extra turns work now. Things like Queen Mab, Wisp, every goblin in the game, and essentially everything that automatically gains a extra turn is now more powerful, or an automatic extra turn, I should say, is now more powerful than what it was previously. So do keep that in mind. The reason for this is, let's say the enemy has a wisp, and there is a skull on the board. The AI will be smart enough to cast that wisp and then do another move. It will not take the skull when it has a wisp that has full mana, and just a few other small subtle things like that. You can still skull distract, it's just the way that casting works is slightly differently, and overall the AI is smarter, which I find to be a good thing. It's definitely still manageable, you can still skull distract. I barely even noticed much of a difference with it, but extra turn, troops that automatically gain a extra turn on their ability are quite noticeable. They're basically the biggest change that has occurred. Another thing that has changed is now we can do custom AI, little sliders. I haven't tested this extensively yet, but I have been kind of tweaking it a little bit. We'll probably test this more later. As far as what it does is it allows your AI to prioritize different manas. Prior, it was skulls on the highest priority, and everything else was basically the same, very low priority. Now you can set it to basically whatever priorities you want. One thing to note about this is these priorities only work within your defend team. These priorities do not work in Guild Wars. So do keep that in mind. And I assume all battles done just within questing and as well as in Guild Wars are just set with everything at the same priority, I assume. But yeah, we have these little sliders now. They just move side to side. One thing to note, unless they changed it in the last couple hours, is you have to test your defend team in order for these to save on PC and mobile right now. If you don't test your defend team, the settings that you change them to will not actually save. So do keep that in mind as well. But you can mess around with that. It doesn't make too big of a difference from what I can tell as of this current moment, but I haven't been playing too much PvP, so I haven't really seen a big impact. Plus, a lot of people haven't bothered changing their sliders yet because, of course, the patch just recently came out. Next thing to go over. What's next? What do we have? Next thing. Updated AI. I believe I kind of already mentioned that. Yes. 2 new achievements. These are not relevant to us, but I will go over them real quick in case anyone on PS4 or Xbox One happened to be going, because I'm not going to bother doing a whole separate video for console. Since we're pretty much going over everything now. But yes, you guys have 2 new achievements, the harder one of which will be to craft this Exthenos guy. I can't show him at the moment because I don't have the crafting thing that high. We'll be doing a video for him in about a month when we can actually obtain him. He is currently the hardest mythic in the entire game to get, and he is only obtainable through the crafting system. So, kind of cool. I forget if he's decent or not. We'll go over him more in the future, but that's him. One other thing to note that's kind of related to this, achievements. PC and mobile don't really have any achievements at all. PC only has the one that they were released with. Mobile, I believe, has none at all. We will eventually be getting achievements, more achievements on Steam, and I believe they're going to be integrating all achievements into the game itself, into the future. They haven't done that yet, but that is something to look forward to. Of course, console, you guys already have that. Minor features, let's see. Text can now be... Oh yeah, a bunch of text thing. I believe these are all related to text. Yeah, so let me go over text. I will go over it in full detail because I believe mobile just got it for the very first time. So let's go and do that. So, new text. There's quite a few things that we can do with this now. Most noteworthy one is you can now resize it. You can resize it as much as you want. Also, for anyone playing on mobile or people who just like larger text who can't read, like myself, you can adjust the text size over here. Obviously, if you're a mobile player, you will want to essentially always have it on large. There should be no other option you should have it on. I also like to keep it on large, though there is a bit of a glitch with the text going all weird as of currently. Okay, then it goes back. But yeah, for the most part, really nice. Really nice feature that we have both of these now. You can also block people. This is something that's been in the game, but of course mobile didn't have this prior. You just click on their profile. If they're being annoying, just block them. Everything else on this profile is exactly the same, as well as the coming soon button that hasn't been able to do anything for a year and a half now. That was supposed to be a friends list. Come on, devs, give us friends list. It's been there forever. Okay, other features that have been added to this. If you're on mobile, you can now use hex codes. So if you type in a hex color code, so let's just type in a bright cyan. It's not the exact color as that, but it is a nice bright color that I like to use. So if I just type in that, let's give it a bold as well. We can type in something like, let's actually give it an underline as well, just so you can kind of see that it's actually doing something. And then we can type in something like, hello everyone. And if you for some reason wanted it to end, you could like stop your bold with that and stop your underline with, oops, I need to make sure I do this in the right order. Okay, well, I'm just going to do that. We'll just let it go for the whole thing, but you can use those backslash ones if you're only using one of them. Actually, let me go do it with underlined, just so it goes. So we'll do that. We'll put the thing right over there. And then the D thing will not actually be underlined if we do it like that. So, yeah, it'll do it in that bright text. And then, oh, well, I messed up the no, I did it right. There's the underline. So as you can see, it does it in that bright cyan color. It says hello everyone underlined, and then that says it in the same color, but it's not underlined. So you can do those little things in chat now. It's something that was already available on PC, but now mobile can see and use it as well. So yeah, that's a thing now. I believe that's everything that has changed with chat, from what I understand. I don't think there's anything else different with the guild thing, other than the fact that your announcement no longer shows at the top for mobile players. It now shows as a little announcement thing that shows up right there instead. So, other things that have changed and been added. Let's see, we have... we went over those. So, bug fixes, I don't think I really need to go over most of these. Though, one really notable one, though, is for any of you that remember me saying how Dragon Soul Triple Azurus was the best soul forming team in the game that uses no Fairish Raws, that is not necessarily the case anymore, mainly because of this change. Souls gained when using necromancy traits should now give the correct amount of souls. There was a glitch occurring earlier where a double Dragon Soul cast would give you full souls, even though it only accumulated a little bit less than full. So that has been changed now. It's basically the same rate as every other team that you would use, like the triple Warlock Valkyrie. It's basically the same rate as that now, so do keep that in mind. It is slightly changed. Triple Fairish Raw Valkyrie is still the absolute best. That hasn't changed. Everything about it is still exactly the same. But if you're using the Dragon Soul Triple Azurus, that now does the normal amount of souls, and it probably dropped down from about 25,000 souls per hour to 20,000 souls per hour. Still one of the absolute best soul-forming teams in the game, just a lot less effective. And I believe everything else is rather irrelevant with the minor changes there, or all the bug fixes. Let's see. Of course, one thing to note now is mobile is now on Unity. This does raise the requirement that you need phone-wise as far as the requirements, so do keep that in mind. You may need to get a new phone to play this game. Pretty sure a good majority of players will be perfectly fine, but there's probably a very small, like 5% of you out there that may need a different phone to be able to play Gems of War now. So do keep that in mind. That, or just switch over to PC, since you can just link your account over if you want. One noteworthy thing to mention about all this, I'm not going to go over all of this because most of this is irrelevant, but there is one really nice thing. If you go under options now on the mobile version, if you go under settings and you go under graphics, there are two things that are really useful. The absolute most useful one is this animation speed thing. Obviously, you'll want to have it constantly at either 2 times or 4 times, both of which will basically increase the amount that you can farm per hour when gaining resources, when doing absolutely everything in the game. The other thing that should be noted is this power saving button. I am pretty sure mobile didn't have this previously. Now that it's on the Unity version, you're probably going to be using up even more of your battery life and everything like that on mobile. So you're going to basically want to have the power saving option enabled constantly, except maybe for Guild Wars, in which you'll probably want to set it off just so it doesn't glitch out or anything like that. But yeah, utilize this probably on mobile. I've never bothered using it once, but I'm pretty sure as a mobile user, this is going to be vital to you now. So, other changes. I haven't even gotten to the rebalance yet. There was quite an interesting amount of rebalance. So, let's go into that. Is the next thing down the line. Artima is now useful. It is now an alternative to Gorgoltha, which kind of was before. Now it really is. It's a 15 mana cost down from 16. It now has a boost ratio increased from 4 times to 5 times. Definitely really decent. It's now you would actually use it instead of Gorgoltha in some instances. Not all. Of course, Gorgoltha is still way better at generating mana. But Artima does have a really decent damage output for only 15 mana cost now. A change to Mega Gorgoltha, this is almost irrelevant. If you haven't done the final battle in KZL yet, the one where you unlock War and Peace, they basically changed what Mega Gorgoltha is like in there. It now has the proper traits, it now has the proper everything, and interacts like a normal troop. The next one is Eye of Exthenus. This is a really old event weapon, which got a little bit of rebalance. Mostly rebalance on it is pretty irrelevant, other than the fact that it now deals triple to Fae. But one thing to really note about this is this Eye of Xthanos is one of the 3 items you need in order to craft the new mythic. Once you craft it, you still get to keep the weapon, by the way, but it is one of the 3 that is needed for the new mythic that is only craftable through the crafting system. So any of you who've gotten this weapon in the past are basically one step ahead, because I believe this weapon on PC Mobile was out like a year and a half ago or something like that. This is a really, really old, pretty much irrelevant event weapon that has now kind of made a comeback, since it's not only used for within a recipe now, but it has also been buffed. So next is a Keizo rework. Basically, all the dwarves are now not useless. Who would have known? Basically, dwarves are good. Those seem like really weird words to say, but yes, dwarves are now decent. They're not like the absolute best things out there, but essentially what happened is every single dwarf in the game now has fortitude. So they did something similar with undead as well. But apothecary, they changed sturdy to fortitude, very nice buff. They changed the trait order slightly, not really too relevant, other than the fact that you do need to get it fully traded now. Previously, you wouldn't really fully trait a apothecary, now you do. Blast cannon is now not useless, it has impervious. So it still would very, very rarely ever be used, but as an early game silence, it might be used some, particularly since it has impervious, so within the context of impervious teams, it could be okay. Bombardier, of course, now has fortitude and ended up getting some realignment. Similarly as before, now you have to fully trade it in order to really be able to utilize it, which isn't too big a deal, but of course, if you want that fortitude, it's definitely really nice. Deep Borer now has fortitude. It just got replaced over Mechbon. Mechbon was never really used on it anyways. Dwarven Lord now has fortitude. I should probably just stop even saying that. Every single dwarf now has fortitude. There you go. Unless they already had impervious, which I believe was only the Dwarven Slayer, I believe, or had impervious. They changed the trait order, and now you can target an enemy with it, which is quite useful. And it now gives armor to all allies if the enemy dies. Before, he used to only give it to himself. He's going to be insanely good within the context of Guild Wars. I mean, not Guild Wars, sorry, no. He's not going to be good in Guild Wars. But in the context of Arena, if you're still running Arena at all, he is going to be insanely, insanely strong. He gives 8 armor to the entire team. Like, if I go in and go over to troops, go over to Dwarven Lord right now. Wait, was it Dwarven Lord? There he is, Dwarf Lord. 8 armor to all allies is absolutely insane in the context of Arena. And now that he can target anyone, that's quite a good utility as well, since you don't have to constantly worry about him just hitting the first slot. Also, for any of you that don't know what Fortitude actually does, I was saying it a lot, but it is a relatively new feature that wasn't really used that much. But what Fortitude does is it's immune to stun, poison, disease, death mark, and devour. So yeah, it covers quite a bit. The most few notable ones is stun, death mark, and devour. It's all immune to. So those are really, really nice things to be immune to, and it's all on one single trait. It's kind of like a mini impervious, essentially. Dwarven Miner still has impervious. It now destroys X gems of a chosen color. He's basically completely been reworked. Like, he's not even the same troop anymore. He's actually decent. He's the closest thing I could really say about him. He is a single color Tyree that has impervious. So yeah, he's actually not that bad now. He destroys X gems of a chosen color. I believe he does 18 when fully maxed out, which is a pretty decent amount. Slightly less than Tyree, but 18 is still way more than enough to basically do every single gem on the board. So perfectly fine, unless he gets magic reduced. He now has a 40% chance to give you 100 gold, though he no longer has a static gold gain, so do keep that in mind. And his mana cost, of course, given that his ability is excessively more better, has been increased from 3 up to 8, so he's actually quite usable now. Really nice. Emperina now has a 13 mana cost instead of 14. Very small change, really nice though. It might bring Emperina back. Emperina is generally used as a full heal onto other allies. Given that Devour and Death Mark is so huge in the game, it kind of stopped being used. This might bring Emperina back as a possible viable option. Even though 1 mana change isn't that huge of a deal, it does have Firelink on it, so that does help quite a bit in given that with the combination of 1 lower mana cost and its Firelink, should be able to get its ability up much easier now. Lady Ironbeard now changed Reinforced to Fortitude. Of course, everything getting that Fortitude. Increases the base damage slightly, and of course the magic level also increases the base damage. Lord Ironbeard changed a Dwarven Bond to Fortitude. Of course, another Fortitude. Changed trait order, increased the base damage, and again increased the base damage even more. Runesmith again has Fortitude. and it also has a slightly higher boost ratio, so it'd watch and be able to do something off of it. Stonehammer, again, Fortitude, and it also now has Stoneheart instead of Thick-Headed, which is mainly because Fortitude has immune to stun on it, so that would have been redundant having two the same. Though Stoneheart is absolutely useless. Really wish you would have gotten a different one. Also wish you would have gotten a slightly lower mana cost. That or a Earthlink or something, just to help him out some. Even if he didn't get a lower mana cost, Earthlink would have helped a lot for that extra little bit of mana. Dwarven Slayer now does a lot more damage. Still very useless, but it's more damage now. Given that, what's his name got a buff, the standard dwarf, you're better off just using a dwarf. If you need an impervious dwarf, you're better off going with the normal dwarf than the Dwarven Miner than you are with the Dwarven Slayer. Dwarven Slayer is still, yeah, really bad. Not really any instance for him. Keghammer, Fortitude, changed order, and he now deals triple to Giant. If I'm not mistaken, every single epic troop that you get from a kingdom now deals triple damage to the opposing troop that it needs to counter. I might be off by 1 or 2, but I believe this was the last one, if I'm not mistaken, that needed to change. There's still quite a few troops that only do double, but as far as the kingdom epics, I believe that's the final one that now does triple. And of course, Spark Grinder, Fortitude, as every goblin has, or Impervious. So, the next one, Undying. All undead troops now have an Undying. This is a completely new trait. All of these are the first ones to ever get the Undying, though it is a lot of them. If I'm not mistaken, this is literally every undead troop in the game now has this trait. Essentially what it does, it's a even minier version of Impervious that, actually I wouldn't even consider it really a mini version of Impervious. It's more of just a multi-immunity kind of thing. It gives you immunity to Deathmark, Disease, and Poison, which is a lot less than a Fortitude, also a lot less useful than a Fortitude, because it's basically like half a Fortitude. There's basically 3 levels to it now, or 4. There's having a single immunity, there's then Undying, then there's Fortitude, and then there's Impervious. That's basically the hierarchy of these. But yeah, now all undead have this. Immune to Deathmark, Disease, Poison. Deathmark's about the most relevant one out of all of those. This is given to a lot of troops. I'm not going to go through all of them because that is a huge amount of them. Essentially every undead. There are 3 noteworthy ones to mention though that basically got nerfed by getting this Undying, which seems a little bit weird. Almost every instance of it is a buff, but there are 3 nerfs indirectly. Crimson Bat. Crimson Bat used to have Cursed. The reason why this was so beneficial is there was a 25% chance every single battle, at the beginning of the battle, particularly if you're using multiple Crimson Bats, that you would end up reducing the HP of the enemy. And since he has a final trait that allows him to do 2 times skull damage when they have reduced HP, that would give you essentially a 25% chance that you would do 2 times skull damage from the very first turn. And if you had multiple curse, that would give you multiple instances, like if you were running a double Crimson Bat team. This is no longer the case though, and is quite bad for using Crimson Bat now within the context of Guild Wars, because that was one of the factors that you were kind of banking on if you were using him in something like a first slot. So yeah, he got hit pretty hard. It might not seem like much of a change, but it definitely changes how you would use a Crimson Bat. Generally, you would never really use him in first slot anymore unless you were specifically pairing him with a either something with Empower that could give him his ability really quick, or with a Death that would automatically apply essentially what Crimson Bat would already do at a 25% chance. And there's 2 other ones that got a slight nerf. Death. Death no longer has the Doom trait. What Doom trait does is allow you to do 2 times skull damage to any troops that are Death marked. It's basically the same nerf that killed off War. War used to have 2 times damage to Pyromania, which was whenever they were burning. Now Death basically got that same nerf. For Death, it doesn't hurt him as much though, because War was always used up front, so it hurt him a lot. Death, however, is generally used as a 3rd and 4th slot troop. And now he basically has to be used as a 3rd or 4th slot troop, because with this nerf, or indirectly kind of a nerf, he's not as good in 1st or 2nd. Most people didn't really run him in 1st and 2nd. Most commonly, he was a 3rd or 4th anyway, so that's really not too big a deal for most people. But yeah, do keep that in mind. So you can't use him as like in a skull spam kind of team anymore, up front or anything like that. You have to use him as just a caster to death mark all of the enemies. And the 3rd one that kind of got nerfed by getting this is White. He no longer has Fire Spirit. Fire Spirit would give him anywhere from like 2 to 4 additional magic. This is pretty good on him because for every magic that he gets an additional true damage to the target, an additional life per cast, and he also got an additional soul. So he's losing quite a bit of value from not having Fire Spirit anymore. So those are basically the 3 troops that ended up getting nerfed from this. As far as the refunds, they only ended up doing these 5. Out of these 5, there isn't really... Well, Crimson Bat you wouldn't bother refunding because even though having Curse made him better, you still need his final trait if you're running him into this kind of team. So you wouldn't really refund your Crimson Bat. All these other 4, you probably wouldn't be using anyways. You could refund them if you want, mainly because you could allocate their resources into other troops. If you have any of these 4 traded, now would actually be a really good time to get rid of them. These are pretty irrelevant troops, so you never really need to use them. The only time you would ever actually trait these troops is if you're doing it for Kingdom Stars. If you're using one of these troops on your team as an actual teammate, refund them and use something else, because you will get a lot better value out of using almost anything other than those 4 troops in their current state. Changes to guild tasks. This is quite another pretty big change that has occurred. Early rewards have been reduced, so if you're in a smaller guild, you're actually going to be gaining slightly less resources. This was mainly, I think, to counteract the fact that the beginning of tasks were such ridiculously good value. The first 5 to 7 within every single task line has extremely, extremely high value, and I believe they did this just to cut that back just a very, very small amount. Later rewards now have been increased to make up for the fact that the curve of tasks was pretty much really bad, so they basically rebalanced the curve. Before it was excessively good at lower costs and then became like, why are we even doing this at higher costs? Now it's kind of more even. I don't know specifically what the changes are. We'll probably have more information on that later, since we haven't really gotten to experience most of it, since most big guilds have already done all their tasks on the very first day. Some gem rewards have been removed and replaced with gem keys. I believe this was mainly the gems, I would assume, off the blue task, because before it gave pure gems. Now I guess it gives a combination of gems and gem keys. This isn't too big a deal, assuming that the exact amount of gems were replaced with that exact amount of gem keys, which is hopeful. Diamonds, which are used within crafting legends and mythics, have now been included to certain tiers within the tasks. That's pretty nice. I believe they have also been added to legendary tasks, so I do not confirm that off the top of my head. I haven't seen one yet, but I'm pretty sure they have been added, but they have definitely been added to the guild tasks themselves, so that's kind of nice. Not sure exactly where they are within the guild tasks, but they are there. And overall, they have just basically reduced the amount of rewards throughout everything, mainly to compensate for the fact that more gold is indeed being earned as a 4x speed. They didn't end up doing any adjustment when that first occurred, but now that mobile now has 4x speed, they figured they scale it back down just ever so slightly. It's not really that big of an impact, but it should be mentioned that it is a decent amount of impact that they ended up doing. They also ended up nerfing the first 2 pulls that you get within legendary tasks. For any of you that don't know, legendary tasks, after you complete every single task, they basically drop 3 different rewards for you off of all of the tables, and they basically nerfed 2 of the drop tables and buffed up the 3rd drop table. The chance of getting legends and mythics are still exactly the same from it, so do keep that in mind. It's just things like keys and stuff were slightly scaled back. Like I was even seeing single gem key drops and single event key drops, when before the minimum you could even get was 2. I think the range was like 2 to 6, 2 to 8, something like that. But yeah, it has been reduced by a little amount. And yeah, that is pretty much everything. Those are all the changes within the new patch. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. We will be going in way more detail on some of these new features soon. Most notably, of course, being the 2 new mini-games of Soulforge and Dungeons. But if you still have any smaller questions to ask about them, or any questions at all, feel free to leave them. Anyways, hope this was helpful. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.